And you always, you will notice that if you add lighter mix into a darker mix, you have to add a lot, And if you add darker colors into a light mix, you have to add very carefully.
¿Qué color es el claro que le puso el café?
Este último.
¿Este?
Buff.
Es buff, es el yellow así tradicional, el XF7 el rojo.
And I add a lot.
El whole red, que es el 9.
I explained why. Why I do a lot of...
3, 7 y 9. 3, 7, 9 y el 57 que es buff.
There are only a few options to make it more bright, and that's yellow. And to add more light, and that's buff. And to add more saturation, I use the red. So that's what I play in the circle of colors.
What is saturation?
Saturation is when you desaturate a color, you take actually the pigment away. So you will fade out the red. Fade out. Yeah. So you take out red. If you add more red, it will be more saturated and more brighter colors.
Is the opposite of fading?
Yes.
Yes.
O sea, si agarras tu tele y agarras el croma y se lo bajas todo, estás desaturando.
Pero será como blanquecino, ¿no?
Bajas todo como si fueran pasteles, lo haces todo más suave. Y si
So
le
what you
subes
can
el
see
croma lo va a hacer todo brillante.
This is almost desaturated, so it's not that red. So I will add red to add more brighter color to the mix.
A question about the light. You will see the color in that light, which is cold light, or that one is a warm light.
Yeah, very important. Actually, if you build for competition, then you have to know that in competition areas, most of the time there is not so much light. And the light there is industrial light. It's not the fancy light above your working table.
Que no es que en las competencias la luz es horrible como esa, industrial, que no es la luz bonita que tienes en tu mesa de trabajo. Y eso pasa en todos los concursos del mundo.
So if you're looking for the best light on your table, the model will look different in the competition. So if you are willing to achieve the view of the judge, you have to use industrial light during your building. Always think. This is how the model will be seen through the eyes of the judges and through the eyes of the people watching your models. And then you can explain that, yeah, but on my working, you should see it on my working table. It looks very nice. You know the answer? Yeah. So now I have a quite dark color. I was explaining about the tinning. You know, in the books they say you have to tin until the consistency of milk. And now the question. What the fuck is the consistency of milk? This is the reason why I use these plastic jars. Because I tin the paint. I can do this. And look how it flows from the side.
Okay.
Now I can see through. I can see you. So this is right. If I do with it and the lighted paint and I do this, you can see nobody. So this is not the consistency of milk. Consistency of milk is white, but transparent white. And again, it's better to overdo the tinning than, because you can solve it with an extra layer. How many brushes do I use?
You have how much you want?
That's good. 15?
15 right there.
Okay.
But you also don't have a ratio for tin.
No.
It's just fancy.
You know why? Because if I tin black, I need another ratio than I tin buff or I tin white.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah. Okay.
So if you try to do it with drop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you will never reach it. So it's also a matter of the heart and of course the experience. Because if I do this, I can see that it is right. So if I tin it even more, it's still okay. If I don't have to brush camouflage because you will blow away the tin paint like spiders. But this is for the base coat, so no problem. I can easily control. I have to control from the airbrush to my mouth. Then, the most important tip of the day. If you have built many hours on your model, it's very easy to destroy it by making mistakes. So you always have to think, how can I avoid making mistakes? What can go wrong? Risk analysis. You all know what can go wrong. You can have the airbrush not cleaned well. So the best thing to do is not fill the airbrush and pinpoint it on your model which you have spent many hours, but take a crap model or take a cup or take whatever, but don't use your model
A piece of paper.
until you know how the paint feels and flow, and you have it in your mind and you have it in your fingers. Because if I now had a drip or a spider, I don't care. If I would do that on my model, it could already be in ruin. In 3 minutes, I explained to you 15, 20 minutes of how to do it, and then I would root the metal in 3 minutes. And we all know the feeling. So that's always the reason why I airbrush something on the table first. That's not the only reason, I will come back on that. Before painting the model. The reason why I do is that I will use this side to build up the layers and to see how it goes. I will not use my model to experiment. I will use this very cheap cup to experiment. So when it feels right, when you have the good feeling that everything will go right, the wife is away, then you can start
we
painting.
have paint flying all around, so I'm going to put them away. Okay.
You're okay. Yeah. That's good. So what I do, I can change. So what I do is I blow very thin layers, maybe 10, I don't care. But by building it up, step by step by step, I can control. It's not a matter of, oh, I have only 5 minutes, I need to paint this model for tomorrow competition. It doesn't One very important remark. Unless your name is Miguel Jimenez, because he's fast. He can. I can. Something fell off. So this is what I do. If you count with me, I have already maybe 15 layers. Very thin. And I build it up. I am in control. And when it feels wet, I take another area. Or I just use air. My finger is going up and down all the time. The paint is in control and the air is just flowing. You hear the air flowing, but I control the paint. So the air have two reasons: to bring the paint and to dry the paint. Also very important in this particular point in time is first aim in the corners, because the big surfaces will cover anyhow, and it's easy. So if you first do the big surfaces and then you are trying to catch all the corners, you add extra to the panels, which is not needed. It will cover detail. So always first in the corners, because the corners need to be covered. And the areas are simple. It's always very hard to airbrush without paint. This is even better. And now I know that I have the same consistency, I have the same paint in my airbrush. Still, don't take any risk. Now take a moment. It is so important. Especially when you take many hours building a model, you intend not to ruin it. Another more important thing is, this one is already one color. The kit has not, actually non-photo edge. If it should have photo edge, it would be a different story. Why? Think.
Different material.
What?
Different material.
Different material. Yes. What?
Irrigation.
Primer. Yeah. Primer. But why? Why? Think.
Here.